you.
Yeah, right from the beginning, I like to invite you to bring yourself along completely, to connect with your body, the mood you're in, what you bring into this moment. And appreciating that we are coming together with the spirit of bodhichitta. And there can be a sense that you are stepping into a sacred place, like you would step into a place like Bodh Gaya, or a favorite cathedral, or a power place in nature. So the sense that a sense of reverence and a sense of awe. And of course, it would be maybe more powerful if you would sit together somewhere in New York in a compa. But it's also wonderful that we are at home, so that your vajra seat, where you are growing up and waking up and healing, that it's right there in your living room, or wherever you sit in your flat. And so we are together as a sangha, and we create that temple just through our intention and through the protection of the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa and Lama Yeshe. So that sacred place which we sometimes find in the meditation rooms or in sacred spaces, it's in a way also beautiful that we realize it's at home where we wake up. It's our daily life. Our Bodhi tree is our daily life, and our kitchen and our living room. And that it is helpful to move to these places, but on the other hand, there is also the inner India, or the inner Bodh Gaya, or the inner Buddhanath, or whatever that sacred space is for you. So you take your seat as a practitioner, right where you are. And some of you have some sacred objects in your flat, pictures of or symbols of the awakened heart, the awakened state. And we can also reach out in our heart to all the practitioners right now who are in the presence of the divine, just like us. So in this kind of silent prayer, you are never alone. There's always people here with us. In the moment where you slow down, you connect with your being, and you reach towards that which is bigger than you and which is in the same time the real you. And you are completely welcome in this space, no matter where you are in your life, no matter what kind of wounds you bring with you, and the struggles you have right now. We all have them. So this sacred space of the presence of the Buddha, the presence of the Mahamudra lineage is big enough to embrace us all and welcome us as we are. We don't need to pretend to be something else or someone else. We just bring ourselves along as the human being we are. And we can meet each other from heart to heart on these both levels, on the level of our indestructible Buddha nature or indestructible goodness, which wants to shine through your being. And then also our conditioned self, our suffering self. So we can also meet on that level and recognize each other as human beings who struggle. We are sitting in the same boat and we are not alone. Yeah, and without me talking a lot, let's just sit quietly together. And I will continue to say things, but that is actually not so important. So you don't need to agree with what I say or do what I say. The most important thing is just to be here and to meet each other, to meet in this sacred space of our meeting, and to let this moment be as it is. And if this is supportive for you, you can close your eyes. If you keep your eyes open, then you leave the gaze relaxed without particularly looking at something. And then you notice what happens if you shift gears from the doing mode, the controlling mode, the trying to get somewhere, the self-improvement mode, to just being here, a present moment awareness. And a part of this shift is a shift from the head into the body. Most of the time during the day, we are quite identified with the sense that we are somewhere in the head, kind of riding on the body. And now the invitation is to relax that and notice the aliveness of your whole body initially, even down into your feet. And you feel the seat as a practitioner. You take your seat. And this posture of meditation carries the commitment that you are willing to touch and be with whatever is arising, that you're willing to be with what you bring with you into this moment. And the earth is carrying you. Can you feel that? How the surface which you're sitting upon, the chair or the sofa or the floor you're sitting upon, that your body is perfectly supported. And let yourself be carried by the floor and by the meeting. And initially it might be helpful to have a bit of an anchor, kind of light and gentle shamatha practice with the breath. But the tendency is more towards open, choiceless, panoramic awareness. as if you're sitting on a mountaintop and you feel the mountain beneath you, but you're open to the landscape. And then notice how the breath, the in-breaths, can help you to slide into the spaciousness, the aliveness of your body, the presence of your body, as if your awareness and your breath is an embrace, like hugging yourself. And if there is tiredness, restlessness, or some contraction, then we let it be, neither focusing on it nor ignoring it. How is the inner weather? And then in the out breaths, there's a quality of letting go, of putting down a burden. So with the out breath, almost like sighting after a day of work, and you sit down on your couch, like putting down the burden of trying to keep your shit together, and you let all of that go with the out breath, softening the belly and the shoulders. Letting go as if you are letting go of some balloons who then drift into the clear autumn sky to become smaller and smaller. And then with the in-breath again, touching, holding, dropping back into the spacious aliveness of your body. And then with the out-breath, letting the balloons disappear in the vast autumn sky or winter sky. And again, we can appreciate that we are breathing together. And then slowly, slowly, you come to a place of rest. Resting in the vastness of this moment. And then I invite you to become aware that whatever you experience right now is an experience within consciousness, within awareness, within mind. That's more obvious with your thoughts and your feelings, but also the experience of the room around you and the body and this voice. It's actually also an experience within consciousness. So we could say that this whole moment is happening within you as awareness, within you as consciousness. So it makes sense to say that this moment is like a dream, and that the appearances, the experience you have, is made from the same stuff as your dreams. So can you recognize that even the experience of solidness or seriousness, that it has a transparent quality to it. It's more like a rainbow vividly appearing, but you can't put your finger on it. There's nothing really there. It vividly appears, but it has no substance. Exactly like a dream. And different things come to the foreground, and you allow that, embracing with in-breath and letting go with the out-breath, softening and opening. And I invite you to experience the present moment with as little words as possible. Of course, the mental chatter doesn't stop, but try not to listen to it so much. Don't emphasize it so much. What is here? What is this? Without labels, without words. Particularly without the words me, mine, and myself. Present moment awareness, spacious aliveness. It's almost a cliche to say it, but it's so obvious, so true, that the past is finished and the future has not begun. So this is all you have. It's this moment. And within the space of awareness, within the space of consciousness, I call upon the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the Buddha, Tara, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And I invite you to call upon your role models, your teachers, masters, mentors, spiritual friends. who are actually really here right now with us. And this is like the morning sun after a cold night, warming you, and you just bathe with your whole body from the toes to the top of your head. If you have a connection to a teacher, to a spiritual friend, and you feel him or her, you hear his or her voice. There's even a scent of bodhichitta, maybe like roses, a scent of roses, which you're bathing in. There might be also a touch, like a shoulder on your hands, the hand of His Holiness on your hand, on your shoulders, or on your head. And you feel the vitality streaming into your body, the vitality of bodhicitta, the love of emptiness. And every cell of your body opens like a flower in the morning light. And then you just rest. There's nothing to do. Nothing to figure out, nothing to think about. Notice that also the sense of I, the sense of being localized, being this body, the memory of your name and your roles and your duties, that all of that are objects of awareness. And in a way, you can say what you're aware of, you're not, because you are that which is aware. So you'll continue to make this backward step into the background of your own presence, into groundlessness, centerlessness. And that groundlessness, the centerlessness, is a safe space because the Buddha is there, Lama Yeshe is there, His Holiness is there. Light is there. And if there's some darkness, some anxiety, some restlessness, all of that is held in Buddha heart. a softening and opening, letting this moment be exactly what it is. You can relax. You can relax now. You're safe. Nothing needs to change. You can't fall deeper than the hand of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And there is the conditioned level of our experience, the display of your karma, changing, moving, like the weather. But there's also the sky. And it could be possible that you emphasize the intuition of the sky, sense of the sky, a sense of stillness or peace, which is not your peace, it's natural peace, primordial peace. So you let the weather do what it does, but you are much bigger than the weather. And the sky is in the nature of love. It is ultimate bodhichitta. And thoughts, feelings, sounds, sensations arise from that space and do their dance, and then they dissolve back like clouds, like waves in an ocean. Arising and then dissolving again. A shoreless ocean. And you become more aware of the depth of the stillness, of the peace below the waves, beneath the waves. The depths of your own being, the vastness of your own being, presence, undescribable, ungraspable, mysterious. And this is your Buddha nature. This is Buddha. The knowingness, the empty knowingness, the cognizant empty knowingness, presence. which underlies and pervades your experience, including the experience of the worlds around you and being in your city, or that is known by Buddha mind. Boundaryless and centerless, timeless, transpersonal, infinite. And returning. Of course, also the waves are the ocean, so also the movements which you experience right now of sounds, sensations, of feelings, of thoughts, they are all expressions, movements of Buddha heart, of essence love. Because only love is true. There's no further to go. Returning and resting. You are the sky, not the weather. But the weather is also in the nature of the sky, in the nature of love, in the nature of Buddha nature. Empty appearances. Neither adding or taking away. Really doing nothing. Effortless meditation. And it's good enough to have a glimpse, an intuition of peace, of stillness, of presence. or listening with your whole body, with your heart. And forgetting yourself as the little I, the mini me. It doesn't matter if you feel tired or almost like falling asleep. That is also content, appearances. It's part of the weather. And there's presence, light, vastness. Bathing. As if you're bathing in the sun or bathing in the water of the warm water of bodhichitta. And returning, resting, letting go, making a backward step into groundlessness. And noticing the empty nature of the appearances, that they are dreamlike or like rainbows. No big deal. And that's why we are here. Here in this meeting, maybe even here in this life, to uncover or make contact with essence love, with ultimate bodhicitta, with our true nature, for the benefit of all. growing up, healing, and waking up. And with that, to remove all the obstacles which prevent you to be helpful to others. Yeah, and if you have your eyes closed, you take your time to reconnect a bit more with the outer landscape, which is also an inner landscape, with the meeting with the other people. And staying in the aliveness of your body. And so that which is looking through your eyes is feeling through your heart. That which is coming through your hands, that is Buddha nature. And that knowingness, which you can't describe, which you can't grasp, that also loves and knows you, the relative you. You're always known and loved infinitely by all Buddhas. So you can interrupt me if you have a question or comment either on the chat or directly. And I mentioned yesterday that part of the exploration within the Mahamudra practice is an initially intellectual and then an experiential experience of anatta or no self. And I just want to talk a bit about that. So the level of initial Mahamudra practice is kind of stepping out of the stream of your experience, the stream of consciousness, into an observer or witness perspective, sometimes called the observer self or the witness self. And then you relate to the content of your experience, which is the stream of sense data and what your conceptual mind does with the stream, the labels, the projections. So called Sem in Tibetan, the conditioned mind. And you step out of that and you look at it. Yeah? But you look at it in a specific way, not just like as a kind of cold mindfulness, but you look at it with a heartfulness, with kindness, with a tenderness, also with a what's the word? With awe, or with a, or like almost a childish, like freshness. This joy which arises when we appreciate that we are happening and that we are aware, and that this moment is a real mystery. And it's so beautiful. It's awesome. It's beyond, I mean, in a moment where we become aware of that, then we become speechless, because it's just incredible. Yeah, we are not, and we are never going to figure it out. But it's happening. Knowingness or awareness or consciousness is happening through you. And this moment, as it is for you, can be only experienced through you. It's only you can feel the feelings you have and the thoughts and the breath. It's unique. Sometimes it's enough to just to be alive, just to be here. So, and then, so there's the love and the tenderness, this awe, appreciation. But then there's also wisdom. You're seeing that the appearances that you experience has no substance. It's empty. It's unfindable. It's like more like a rainbow or like a dream. And it might take some time and it's quite sitting to really not only to think these thoughts, but actually to see the transparency, to see the lightness within whatever you experience. And in that moment, you can afford to be much more intimate with your experience. And in the same time, kind of not to take it so too serious. I mean, it matters, but not really. So this is not like a practice of kind of disassociation from your experience, kind of transcendence into light and leaving your miserable mini-me behind. But here in this practice, we actually feel more the expression of what it means to be human coming through us. And we can afford to feel deeper because there's the space and the love and the wisdom for doing that. Experiencing what it is to be you. In particular, the parts from the point of the mini-me, we don't want to experience because it's too much. It seems to be overwhelming. It's so serious. It's also serious from the perspective of the mini-me because it's about me. It's so important. My problems, my feelings, my trauma, my childhood pain, my sadness. So it's impossible for us to be with our experience from the point of view of the identification with the mini-me. But from the point of view of our true self, we can be lovingly present to the catastrophe of our life. So it's not denying what we feel, but it is helping us to be able to feel what we feel, to be loyal and present to the way our life is forced upon us through our karma. So in that state or in that place where there's still a subtle sense of place where you are looking from. So it's a subtle self-identification. So that subtle central position which we assume. This would be a bit like if you imagine this moment like a shoreless ocean, where everything depends on everything, and this moment can't be different than it is because it is connected with everything. So the identification with the centered position would be a bit like that one of the waves coming from this shoreless ocean develops the capacity of selfing, of creating, kind of develops a little frontal cortex there. That's the place where the selfing, I don't know, I don't think this is an English word, but maybe you have an idea what I mean with that. Like the capacity of telling stories about what you are and who you are and your memories and your name and your roles. So it's like this endless loop, which it's like a movie running, and the movie has one title, and that is What About Me? And the only person who's interested in that movie is you. And so you're the only one who's watching it, and you're the actor, the main actor. So if it would be run on the moon on a screen, it would be like 70% of that screen would be just you. And then there's a bit the others, and the landscape and the city you're living is also on the movie, but it's all about me. So that is that loop. So, and that imagine that wave coming, emerging from unity, yeah, developing that capacity and creating a sense of separation. And okay, that's fine, as long as you still stay connected with you as the ocean. But the problem is then that we identify with that endless loop. So there's a contraction. So this wave kind of collapses into, being that part which is completely made up, as Lama Zopa always says, is merely labeled. It's completely made up. But so that's called, self-grasping, the identification. And then with that self-grasping, with the identification with that little part of the universe, comes self-cherishing. So what about me? And then there is a sense that that is the central position from where you are looking at the world, which is separate from you. So this little wave, this poor little wave, suddenly looks from that central position and sees so many others, and starts to worry about, am I big enough, and there's bigger waves, and maybe I should do some waving workshops so that I will be like others, and I want to have also the same kind of shape, or I don't know what. And so that's where suffering starts. The suffering starts with that collapsing, and in the identification, and then assuming that central position and a sense of separateness. And with that comes narcissism. With that comes recklessness and greed or violence, fear, addiction. Yeah, and then at one point, this wave starts to develop, because there is, in all of us, is the intuition always that we are the ocean. There is, and a lot of the things we do, like taking drugs or seeking for intensive experience or sex, or so these are actually expression or attempts of the waves to come back home, but using methods to go home which prevent the wave to realize that it never left home. It has been always the ocean. So Mahamudra practice is one of the practices which help us as waves, as kind of separate waves, to start to experience that we are also the ocean. We are also the wave. I mean, that's also happening. It's the conditioned level is also happening. So of course we are individual people, yeah, but we are also one. We are also unity at the same time. So the narrative self, now it sounded as if it's just stories and words, but actually what makes the narrative self, this endless loop, what about me endless loop, so real and so solid, is that it comes along with an energetic contraction in your body. It comes along with like something, and that contraction is not necessary just in one part of your body. It might be in different parts, or it might be more, more vague. But there is that subtle energetic contraction. So the endless loop of what about me, and one big part of, for us, coming from Western culture, one part of that endless loop is not only me, it's also I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Something is wrong with me. A sense of shame, a sense of worthlessness, which was reflected into our being from our environment in a pre-verbal state. So it really feels as if it's you. And you can do cognitive therapy with that for the rest of your life. It's not going to change, because you are not going to reach that place with words. So this makes the sense of I so stable. If it would be just thoughts, and we would always have a bit of enlightenment if we would just knock us out or something like that. But there is that felt sense, that energetic aspect of this endless loop. So this subtle sense of I, this is what is called the object of refutation, the object of negation. And the first step in working with this is to just realize that, to become curious about it, to become aware that there is that contraction. Even now, probably most of you are kind of in a relaxed state, so it might be not so obvious. I mean, unless I say something which makes you upset or you feel kind of, yeah, then this contraction becomes a bit stronger. But also if we are relaxed, even in a very open and relaxed meditation, we start to identify there is that sense that I'm looking, that I am looking, that I am aware, and I am aware. I'm looking from a centered position. So this is a subtle sense of I. So it's important to become aware of that, to notice how it shifts throughout the day, and contemplate this question of how the I appears within a Mahamudra-like meditation. So this I, which does not exist, which doesn't obviously not mean that you don't exist. Obviously, that would be the most stupid thing to say, because obviously, I'm here and you are there. So, it would be stupid for me to say we don't exist, yeah, because it's, I mean, this endless loop of the narrative self, combined with an energetic experience, a felt sense in your body, creates a delusion which has three characteristics. First one is it's permanent. It's like, there is a sense, for example, that the I which came here to the session is the same I which is now here. So there's a sense of that there's an I which jumps from moment to moment, from day to day, from week to week, from year to year. And then, if we kind of adopt a Buddhist view, from life to life, so that there is that kind of center, and that I is permanent. It is one, which in a way is really interesting, that we manage to create the sense of a solid I, even if we assume that so different roles throughout the day. So sometimes we are the little girl and we act like that, or we are the professional then when we go to work, or then we come home and then we are the mother or the lover, or so, and all of that, the different kind of characters which come into the drama and come onto the stage, in all of that we continue to feel it's me, it's I. So the second characteristic of that I, it feels, so the first one is permanent, and that it is one, and then the third is it feels separate. It feels like, what sometimes it's said, it feels like existing from its own side, like self-powered. It feels like it exists out of itself, and it is something real, and it is separate. So this creates the dualistic split between subject and object. I am here, and then there's the world and the other people who are different, who are the other, because I am here. So that is to reflect like this, and you can approach this from different angles. You could look into neuropsychology if you are interested in, if you're more a scientific scientific thinking person, philosophy, Buddhist teachings. And it's of course, resistance is to be expected, because the narrative self, the sense of I, resists this message. But the resistance is futile. But we need to kind of keep a bit reflecting on this, and then if we kind of have an intellectual idea in meditation, to familiarize ourselves with that sense of I, and that's almost it. So if you realize, if you become familiar with that sense of I, then the next step of seeing, experiencing that it is completely made up and that there's nothing behind it, that it is just that loop, blah blah blah, I'm not good enough, with some sensations in your body, and that there's nothing behind it, then slowly you undermine that the power in this, and you start to kind of take away the identification with that contraction, with that energetic contraction. And in the meantime, you continue to familiarize yourself with presence, with that kind of experience which maybe came through in our meditation we just did. I see, maybe there's a question there.
Could I ask one, Stephan?
Yes, yeah.
Hi, I'm Vince from Toronto in Canada.
Hey.
Thank you. I feel a bit like my head just exploded.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I read in Lama Yishi's book on Mahamudra, he uses this analogy or concept of the mindfulness fish, I think, to examine what you've been talking about in practice. I sort of think I understand the idea. Could you say a little bit more about that examination? So that, let's say, while we're doing a Mahamudra meditation and I'm hearing you say, we want to become more familiar with this artificial I or
yeah, that's a part of, so it has, so that's the part in Mahamudra meditation. What we also emphasize is to, like the fish in the ocean, becoming aware of the space of the ocean. Yeah, so yeah, so it's kind of two angles into liberation. So one is to identify what you are not, and that's what I just talked about. And the other is to identify what you are. And in Mahamudra practice, pointing to what you are is a bit emphasized. So we not necessarily start with that discussion which we just had, yeah, but it has to be part of the. So it's kind of two different directions, and maybe it's even done in like two different periods of one's life or two different kinds of meditations, maybe not in the same kind of practice. And pointing to what you are through, like these metaphors, also Lama Yeshe in his book, the mind is like the sky, or that like the sun, or like the ocean. So for us, this is very important because when we hear the teachings on emptiness of the I, this is very scary because we are so identified with it. And of course, then when we realize, wow, this is made up. Yeah, who the heck am I then?
Yeah.
Then you have this experience of explosion because you can't grasp it. So it's really good to have teachings on Buddha nature, or the teachings on awareness, and already start in our practice to become familiar with that there is something bigger, so that you then can slaughter the ego, because it's not who you are. Does that answer your question? Or
yes, I think so. It did strike me in reading it, and I don't know if I understood any of it, but it did strike me that the examination suggested by the concept of the fish, right, swimming in the ocean and looking around, as you say, seeing what this is.
Yeah,
it was different because it was more of it's almost analytical activity within the appreciation of the what I am, or what we are, which is the open awareness, or Buddha nature, right? So
yes, and this metaphor with the fish in the ocean, of course, it's also a provisional metaphor.
Yeah.
So it is like a step, and then because when we go deeper, what we start to realize is what we are looking with is what we are looking at. So the kind of the fish in the ocean is also the ocean, and this is an indescribable experience, yeah, to see that what we are seeking in Mahamudra meditation, like what we're seeking Mahamudra meditation, let's say that's essence love or unity. What we are seeking is with what we are seeking. And that's why we don't find it. We can't. So the object of Mahamudra meditation is not an object. It is a realizing that you are that. But of course you can't see that because it's not an object. It doesn't make sense what I say. I'm trying to talk about something which is undescribable, but no, in one of the last sessions, I used this metaphor of the flashlight in meditation. So that's like provisional meditation, illuminating the objects of meditation, and then becoming curious about the light, and then trying to find the light, but then is the shift. And that is the shift of realizing that I am the light. I'm seeking the Buddha with the Buddha. I'm trying to get back home to the home which I never left. I'm trying to walk through my own feet, using my feet.
Thank you.
This is also, this is a very powerful quote by Franciscus of Assisi. Yeah. Exactly what I said. So he says, what you're seeking is, what you are seeking is what is doing the seeking. So, of course, as a Christian mystic, he would say, what I'm seeking is God. Yeah? So what you're seeking is what is doing the seeking.
Thank you.
And that is the relaxation. Yeah, there's a little parable metaphor in the chat. Yeah, this is like we are all fishes in the ocean looking for water. Until we come to the Dalai Lama fish or the Lama Yeshe fish, which says, just relax, baby, it's good enough. It's all water. And actually you are also water. Yes.
Stephan, this is Atul from Bangalore, India.
Welcome.
Yeah, hi.
Great.
Great session. And I missed yesterday's session, so I'm not sure if this question was answered yesterday, but every time we meet, you talk about growing up. So can you just elaborate what you mean by that?
Going up? Waking
growing
up.
Growing
up. Yeah.
Growing up.
This is a bit of, I'm a Ken Wilber fan. So it would take a long time, to kind of interview, because it's like a whole kind of very, it takes some time. It's like studying Buddhism. But what I mean with that, there is like that kind of psychological growing up in the world, the healing, the healing of your traumas, the kind of, growing up as a person. And waking up means, it's also, there's many ways to describe waking up, but let's say waking up means to realize that you are the ocean. So the connecting with God, the reconnecting with God. But waking up can happen in any kind of psychological state you're in. Yeah, so you can be really screwed up and addicted, and you can have a genuine experience of oneness. So then still the growing up needs to happen, the healing as a psychological being. Yeah, so that's why it's just a habit of mine. to bring in the importance of purification and what purification and accumulating of merit, how is it traditionally called? It's the healing process. And it's a common experience that there is people who have a genuine experience of unity, and they act not in accordance with it because they don't do the growing up part. They don't do shadow work. They don't work with their projection. They don't work with what they bring to the plate. So that's why I say growing up. But it's a good question. Thank you that you gave me some space to explain what I mean with that.
Sure, thank you.
Stephan, just a follow-up question to that.
Mm-hmm.
In other terms, could we think of waking up like getting in touch with ultimate reality, but then
Yes.
the growing up is the conventional reality,
Right.
and healing
Yes.
that part?
Yeah. And of course, the waking up experience might facilitate or help the healing process or the changes of the conditioned I, but not necessarily. You can be a Nazi who has a unity experience. And then there needs to be a growing up part, ethics, healing work.
Also, Joseph had a question in the chat area.
Aha, didn't see that.
I was just asking what we should, if you had any recommendations what to do during eclipse.
What I do to the solar eclipse. Yeah, I mean, there's, just Google Lama Zopa practices for these days, and then we'll have a list of practices. But, for me, what the essence of practicing is bodhichitta and emptiness. So, I mean, for me, it's like, and I mean, I also heard Lama Zopa often saying the best way to purify and accumulate merit is to reflect and meditate upon bodhicitta and emptiness. So if one does all this kind of mantras or sadhanas or prayers, and there's no taste of bodhicitta and emptiness within that, then I doubt the power of these practices.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe I can conclude this series a bit with some kind of indications or inspirations on how to continue. So I mean, I mentioned Ken Wilber, so I really love a kind of integral view on my own practice, or like bringing different elements into it. And for Mahamudra practice also from the traditional text, so that would be practice of shamatha, stabilizing the mind, bodhicitta, studying emptiness, doing some body work. Yeah. So that is, I think, for Mahamudra practice, so important that we start to explore the landscape of our body, particularly the subtle level of your body, the felt sense of your feelings. And there's practices. I mean, you can also practice yoga as fitness, but there is also in yoga practice can be that part of really exploring the energy of your body, the energies of your body, not just the kind of coarse body, making it fit. Then I think for most of us, it's helpful to do to appreciate the psychological history. I mean, doesn't mean that everyone has to do therapy, but I recommend that as a meditator, because it will help, it kind of will shortcut or force forward the potentials of realizations in your meditation practice if you don't bring too much disturbance, too much unhealed stuff into your meditation. So that, I think that's helpful, but at least some knowledge or some appreciation towards the Western healing modalities, which are particularly attuned to our culture, to the way we grew up, and to the particular traumas and wounds we carry, which we will bring into our meditation practice. Yeah, and then, so I said already, like kind of intellectual understanding of emptiness, you know, what I talked, the emptiness of the self, which I talked about after our meditation. And then seeking, even from the beginning, I mean, you know, often you hear like, yeah, nature of your mind or Mahamudra meditation, that's for the advanced people, but right from the beginning, yeah, I think we can work on the different aspects of our being at the same time. Yeah, so it's not like that we need to study emptiness for 10 years before we start to actually bring what we understand into our meditation and trying to have experience of it. Because also you don't know if in 10 years you're still around to do that meditation then, which you are so busy to prepare for. And the intellectual knowledge, of course, you can't bring with you if the journey goes on after death. What you bring with you, that needs to be deeper than some sentences you can say. So the kind of pointing out part, like pointing to the nature of your mind. So that is something I would encourage you to seek out. Yeah. Like we do now this weekend, to seek out teachings of Mahamudra, teachings of maybe Christian mysticism or Advaita Vedanta. That doesn't mean that you leave the place you have as a practitioner in the Tibetan tradition within a certain lineage. That's a very good place to be. But the pointing out and the pointing out of the true nature, that's something which is very personal, and you might not find the right metaphors or words or ways how it is being expressed in your home tradition, and then maybe you listen to I don't know, Advaita Vedanta teacher or something like that, and suddenly something happens, and then you bring that kind of taste into your practice as a Tibetan Buddhist practitioner. But I mean, this is just many people wouldn't agree with what I say. It's just my kind of take, and because I have benefited so much from it. And for me, it is a big difference to kind of take your seat as a student of a certain master and listening and being inspired by teachings of other traditions. I don't think that contradict each other. So I don't feel that it is a kind of not being loyal to your tradition if one benefits from the mystic poems of other traditions, which actually describe the same thing, and you will slowly actually start to get that. And that's actually a sign that you are getting closer, because you start to notice the flavor in teachings and teachers and places. You start to, so it doesn't matter if it's a Tibetan master or a Christian mystic, because you start to intuit, you start to feel they are sharing the same thing. Yeah, and then this recognition, or this shift is more a shift into the experience of non-duality. That's what the experience of Mahamudra is. It seems it's not something we can really do something for. It seems to be a bit out of our hands. I mean, we can do the growing up part and the study part and the accumulation of merit and purification and studying and cultivating a healthy relationship to a master. But then it's in the Christian tradition, it's called grace. Yeah, so there is that element of we can get ourselves to the threshold, but then how that shift happens seems to be a mystery. So a lot of Mahamudra practice is kind of swimming in that space of the threshold and having patience and learning to be with the fear, which is often there in that, in that moment just before you let go. This is actually also the moment of dying. Yeah? In the death process, I mean, you go through the 8th dissolution, and then comes this moment. It brings you to the threshold, and then there comes the experience of unity, which we then recoil from because we're afraid of it. So, if there would be like a trick to bring us over the threshold, just like something we can all do, and then there's a certain result, I mean, we all would already know that trick. It would sell out fast. But there seems to be that sense that yeah, I like it in the Christian tradition. They call it grace. It's the blessing. It's something. Obviously it's not something the mini-me, the narrative self, can do. It's because you can't bring yourself with you into that. You can't bring yourself with, you can't wake up as the little I. And that's what we wish, of course. The little I tries to get the things together to come to the threshold, and then hopes to get over the threshold as itself, as me. I want to wake up. Yeah, for the benefit of all, but I want to wake up. But that I has to die, or it has to be recognized as made up. It can't die because it doesn't really exist as something. Maybe it can dissolve or relax. Okay. I get always a bit excited when I talk about this because this is the most important thing in the world. So I try to kind of force it upon you. Who knows if we ever have the chance again to hear the message. Okay.
Just want to thank you so much for teaching us. Thank you everyone for sharing in that experience. And doing it together. It's been such a pleasure. Just to let you know, for those of you who don't know, we've invited Stephan to teach again next year, and we really hope that'll happen. We've enjoyed the teachings so much. For those who wish to make a personal offering, Shantideva Center does also make a group offering on behalf of students, but there is a link to PayPal, and that helps strengthen the karmic connection and of course helps Stephan on a practical level. And just to also share in terms of continuing the journey, if any of these appeal to you, I will go ahead and share them. But first is the editor to the Introduction to Tantra book that Stephan had mentioned yesterday, John Landau, will be leading an end-of-year retreat on December 26th and 27th. It's on, he really wanted to go back to basics. He's been studying with Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, other masters for a very long time. And he really insisted on going back to basics of the Shakyamuni Buddha figure as the object of meditation. So, and he has a very loving and poetic way of expressing the Dharma. So if you're interested in that, please join. And then Stephan had mentioned Shamatha, and then Glenn Svensson, some of you know him quite well, will be leading a Shamatha series starting in January. And that is in the evenings, Eastern time. So it may not work for those in Europe, but just wanted to mention that. And please stay tuned, because we would love, Stephan, to have you again guide us. I don't know about the rest of you, but I so enjoyed it, and very grateful.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer, also for this invitation. You made the connection and invited me, so organizing this. And of course, I don't know the other people who make this possible, but there's more than you in the center. So.
Just me. No, yeah.
So I hope there was benefit in these meetings for you, and yeah, and let's share that benefit so that we can radiate out ultimate bodhichitta from this weekend and from this moment, kind of remembering our initial motivation that we are coming together in this mandala for the benefit of all. And now yeah, let's just share the goodness with everyone, which is part of you. So that's why we can share with everyone. It's ripples of goodness going into all directions, also into your future. Okay, thank you very much.
Stephan.
Thank you, Stephan.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Jennifer. Thanks, Stephan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Jennifer,
Yes.
will these sessions be available afterwards? I missed yesterday.
Yes, Karen. They are, and they take a while to make it to our YouTube channel. But what I can also do is make a note to make sure you get yesterday's recording.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's make that happen. And yeah, did you register, Karen? Because then I'll have your email address.
I did.
Okay, perfect. I'll look out for that then.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Karen.
Have a nice holiday.
Thank you. You too. And good to see everyone. Hello, Heinz and Dave. Always good to see you. And yeah. See you again next time. Okay. Bye.